Hi, my name is Amelia and I'm an art teacher with Artists for Kids in the North Vancouver School District. Welcome to the Gordon Smith Gallery. This year, the AFK Artreach video series brings you art activities and artwork inspired by the theme of play and by the artworks that you see in the gallery around me. Many of the activities that we will do together can be done outside and also at school or at home. And we will be posting this video series every other week on the AFK website. This week I will share with you the artwork of the Canadian painter Gordon Smith, the person who this gallery is named after. And inspired by one of Gordon Smith's paintings, we will create a paper sculpture. And we will consider the following question. What does your dream play environment look like? Gordon Smith was a Canadian artist who lived for many years in West Vancouver. And he was really well known for his paintings that represented the BC landscape. And he had a very distinctive style that was realistic and abstract. And he was a very well-loved teacher and mentor to many artists as well as teachers. He was a big supporter of art education, and he helped to establish Artists for Kids here in the North Vancouver School District. Take a look at this painting by Gordon Smith. What stands out to you? What colors has Gordon Smith used? What do these lines and shapes remind you of? The artwork is called Tangled Beach. Does this remind you of anything you've seen at a beach before? Think about the objects that you might find on the shore, like driftwood, pebbles, seaweed, beach glass, or things that have washed up on the shore. Why do you think he used the word tangled in the title of this painting? Imagine that you could jump into the space of this painting. What would you feel, and what would you do there? Gordon Smith often created his paintings by first taking a photograph of an outdoor space. He would then take that photo back to his studio and use it as inspiration for his artwork. However, he didn't usually create an exact copy of that photo. So today, inspired by Gordon Smith's painting, we will be thinking about outdoor play environments, and we will also start by thinking about the beach. So I can imagine Gordon Smith at a beach, taking in the environment around him and noticing all of the details that he saw there, like the shapes and the textures and the different colors. What do you do when you go to the beach? I know when I go to the beach with my kids, they love to climb over the logs. We like to collect rocks and beach glass, and sometimes we build structures or even forts out of things that we find on the shore. So today, inspired by Gordon Smith's painting of the beach, we're going to think about what our dream play environment would look like. And we will create this environment that we imagine as a paper sculpture.
You'll need some simple materials to do our activity today. Firstly, you will need a 10-inch by 10-inch sheet of white construction paper. You'll need 3 or 4 crayons for each student. You'll optionally need a 12-inch by 18-inch sheet of thick paper, such as poster board or cardstock. And you'll also optionally need some strips of construction paper in one color that are cut to 1-inch and 2-inch strips. You will need some scissors, white glue, a glue spreader or a brush, and a lid or container to put your white glue on. You'll need a 10-inch by 10-inch piece of cardboard or thick paper, such as poster board. And you'll need several colors of construction paper cut into 1-inch and 2-inch strips. And then optionally, you could use a 12-inch by 18-inch sheet of white paper and some paints such as tempera paints with brushes and a water pot. As a warm-up for our activity today, we could head outside. And we're imagining our dream play environment. And so to do this, we could take inspiration from the natural environment as well as existing playgrounds and play structures. I've come outside for a short walk and I brought with me a 10-inch by 10-inch piece of paper, a hard drawing surface, as well as a couple crayons. And I'm going to make a couple stops on my walk today, drawing at each stop. I first stopped to draw at this tree. I loved climbing trees when I was little, and I still do, so I decided to draw some of the branches of this tree, as they might inspire me as I design my dream play environment later on. And you can see that I didn't include the whole tree in my drawing. I then made a stop near this creek and added some more details to my drawing. And I also stopped to draw at 2 different playgrounds, and I drew some details from the playgrounds that I'd like to include in my dream play environment. And as you can see, I decided to overlap the lines in my drawing, inspired by the Gordon Smith painting that we looked at earlier. And my finished drawing is a bit of a tangle, but I'll use some details from it for inspiration later on. After doing some drawing outside and collecting ideas for building your dream play environment, you could then do some experimenting with strips of paper to create sculptures. So to do this warm-up activity, you could work with a partner and you could use a large sheet of paper. Mine's 12 inches by 18 inches and is nice and thick. And you would need some construction paper. I have just one color and it is cut into 1-inch and 2-inch strips. You will also need your white glue, some scissors, and a lid or container to put your glue in, as well as a brush or a glue spreader. And for this warm-up activity, you could try out different ways of bending and folding these paper strips and then attaching them onto your big piece of paper. So before you create your dream play environment, play around with these materials and see how you can bend them, fold them, curl them, cut them to make different kinds of structures. And here you can see my finished experiment where I have tried out many ways of bending and folding and curling and cutting the paper to make 3D structures on my big piece of paper. Now that I've experimented with some techniques for building paper sculptures, I'm ready to get started and to build my dream play environment. For inspiration, I have here my drawing that I created outside, so I can look at that for ideas for different shapes and lines to include in my sculpture. And I have a few more colors of paper strips this time. I also painted a big sheet of paper, as you can see here, using colors inspired by Gordon Smith's painting that we looked at earlier. And I then cut up this painted piece of paper into 1-inch and 2-inch strips. And I have these strips here. So this will add more color and texture to my sculpture. And this is something that you could do if you wanted to as well. So now I'm ready to start building my sculpture. my finished dream play environment. And when I was finished this environment, I cut out a couple small paper people, as you can see here, and I glued them into the environment to show how people might use this space. And as I was building my sculpture, I really thought about using as many of the paper sculpture techniques as I could that I had experimented with earlier. So when you're finished your sculpture, you could perhaps partner up with somebody else, and you could use small toy people or little rubber animals, and you could show your partner how these creatures or people might move through your space and use the different structures that you've included in your space. And now that I'm all finished, I find it interesting to look back one more time at the painting that we looked at earlier by Gordon Smith and this tangled beach environment. And I find it interesting now to see some connections between his painting and my finished sculpture. Some of the tangled lines, for example, and some of the colors. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed building your dream play environment, and we would absolutely love to see pictures of your art. You could share images with us by email, or you could post images on Instagram using the hashtag AFK Artreach. Please do check back in the coming weeks for more AFK Artreach videos.